All right, you guys, we're going to talk about this Alec Baldwin situation. For those who've been living under a rock, Alec Baldwin shot and killed someone on a movie set. Apparently, it was one of his movies. It's called Rust. He's like the producer, and he acts in it and does all this stuff. And yeah, the cinematographer, a young female named Helena Hutchins, she was shot in the face, and she died on scene. It appears, and he has made it very clear in other interviews that she was my friend. She was my good friend, and there was an accident. And he also blames her for the event. It's Helena Hutchinson's fault. It's the armor's fault. It's the union's fault. It's everybody's fault except for Alec Baldwin, the movie genius, the supreme god actor, the famous Democrat Alec Baldwin, who can do no wrong because he has the right opinions. He votes the right way, and he hates Orange Man with a passion. This cocksucker killed somebody. And he goes into this interview. He goes into this interview with these detectives, and he probably thinks they're dumbasses because they're from this podunk shithole that he's never going to visit again after this whole thing blows over. So he just goes in there, and he starts boasting and bragging how he can tell the difference between a live round and a dummy round. He has extensive experience shooting and handling, real firearms and these prop devices. And that, before, filming a scene or whatever, before, the completion of a film, he has to get extensive training and practice with the devices, with the props and the guns or whatever that are going to be used in the film. So ignorance will not be a defense here. But what he does do, it's like, he keeps saying over and over again that, it's like, they kept saying, it was a cold gun. It was a cold gun. It was a cold gun. I believed them. It was a cold prop. Now, just imagine, if you will, if I'm at a gun shop. If I'm at a gun shop and, I tell one of the salespeople, it's like, hey, I want to look at that, that Daniel Defense, DDR4 or whatever. And he's like, oh, okay, here it is. It's totally unloaded, by the way. And I was like, oh, yeah, really? And I point the gun at him and I shoot. I pull the trigger. Well, I didn't want to do that. I didn't intend to do that. I have no animus or hatred towards this individual that I just shot and killed. And they told me, the gun was safe. It was safe to handle. It was safe, whatever. But I violated very concrete safety rules in the firearm world. You don't point the gun at anybody that you're not willing to harm or kill. You don't pull the trigger unless what's in front of the barrel you're willing to destroy. That sort of thing. So if I would have just done at least like one or two of those things, that'd be fine. If I never put my finger on the trigger, that person would never have been shot and killed. Or if I'd never pointed the firearm at anybody, but I pulled the trigger, nobody would have been shot and killed. But I did all these things. If that were to have happened, and I would have gone into, the police station and given this shit interview with this shit attitude, I would be behind bars. I would be charged and convicted of, involuntary manslaughter, plain and simple. The guy admitted it. He's like, he didn't check the gun. And then like in other interviews, it's like, oh, I never put my finger on the trigger or whatever. It's like, and then of course there's videos revealing that he did just that. And then, of course, here, it's just like, oh, yeah, they told me it was safe to handle this. They told me it was a cold gun. So despite knowing how to check the weapon for live rounds, he elects to ignore all the training, ignore all the safety precautions, and just take the word of these people that he felt that he was above, pulls the trigger, and he kills Helena Hutchins. This is not a good look, man. This is not a good look. And quite frankly, I'm pissed. All right, I'm not going to dive into the whole legalese about this. Nick Rekieta's doing a lot of great work. Robert Barnes, Viva Fry, they're doing excellent work. I'm going to dive more into the politics of this thing because here's what I see. I see an egomaniac. I see this fucking Democrat, this pedo, you-know-what-a-file, goes into this interview with a fucking attitude. And he knows he can say whatever he wants. He can be angry and snooty all he wants, and he can do so because he's incredibly rich. He has the right opinions, the right worldview, he votes the right way, and he knows that he will be protected by the professional class that would be able to prosecute him, if you will. No Democrat is going to want to touch this guy because he's a darling of the Democratic Party. He's one of the propagandists of the Democratic Party. And I am of the opinion that he's not going to be held accountable for his actions. Elena Hutchins will die in vain, essentially. Or her death will be in vain. No, that's not right. That's not right. Her death will go unpunished. That's what I meant to say. She and her family will never receive justice because the man who pulled the trigger and killed the woman is a member of the Democratic Party. And he knows this. It's why he had this attitude. It's why he had the demeanor. It's why he was on the phone in the beginning of this interview talking the way that he was talking. He knows he's going to get away with it. I mean, just look at what happened with Pussy Smollett. This ghetto thug, this druggie, this dork, Jussie Smollett, lied repeatedly to the police for months, maybe longer. Even to this day, is still lying about what he did. He was driving around, planning this fake hate crime, doing drugs, and then he put the fake news, and he set up the fake fight, and then he went on this fucking media tour saying that he was viciously beaten, attacked, and they tried to lynch him and hang him and all this other nonsense. And they did those things because of who he is, because of who he chooses to love, because he makes fun of Poopy Orange Man, because, all this, because MAGA country, all this nonsense. It was bullshit. And he was found guilty. He was charged. He was convicted. He lied to the police. Out of the 6 charges, 5 of them stuck. He was going to do jail time for like 150 days or something like that, some nonsense. So like 4 or 5 months, give or take. And that was too much for Jussie Smollett because he's a Democrat, because he rubs shoulders and is good friends with the Obamas. He is not going to be held accountable for his actions, for the crimes that he literally committed. Same here. I mean, there's enough here to convict him. Andrew Branca, the law of self-defense guy, fantastic content creator, absolutely nailed it. There is enough here to charge this man, and I'm also of the opinion that I think there's enough here to convict him. And I think it is absolutely necessary. And, like a part of me also wants to be like, oh, I don't really care, just a bunch of these Hollywood cucks like killing each other. But like, I don't know, man, like this can't. I mean, it's different when they're like, there's like petty fighting. It's like, okay, I don't really care about that. But someone died. And now he's like, oh, well, we need we need cops on the scene. We need cops present. It's like, why would cops need to be? I mean, this is what he said in that one interview, that famous interview where he basically victim blames Helena Hutchins. He's like, oh, well, we need the cops there. Why? So they can arrest you faster for killing a woman? Are you kind of, admitting that you committed a crime, which is why the police needed to be there to apprehend you a lot sooner than, whatever? Yeah, it was kind of bizarre. But, something that I thought about. I remembered, I don't know if it was like a live stream or an independent video that Viva Fry did, but he was kind of going over a scenario, a very plausible scenario where he's like, Alec Baldwin, the way that he described the incident before he pulled the trigger and killed Helena Hutchins, he was like, Viva Fry, David, he says that Alec Baldwin appeared to be annoyed. He appeared to be aggravated, very emotional, agitated, etc., because he's being told what to do by this young woman who he feels he's above because he's an older gentleman and he's got all this experience. And, like, who the fuck is Helena Hutchins? She's like some 25-year-old, basically telling him what to do on a movie set that he paid for. So, and he's in a part of the country where he probably doesn't like this place. He probably feels like he's above being seen on a set like this, tiny budget film called Rust. And it was really emotional because, he kept reminiscing. He's like, oh, I was in Departed and I was in all these great movies and blah, 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 blah. And now I'm on this fucking piece of shit thing called Rust. And I'm in this terrible place and people are fucking protesting me. And I got this dumb bitch, Helena Hutchins, telling me what to do. And she was like, oh, you got to pull the trigger this way. He's like this, like this, like this, like this. And he kept doing that. And David communicated very eloquently. It's like he appears to have been fucking pissed off. And I guess I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I guess he might have said something like maybe he was fantasizing about shooting her and punishing her for inconveniencing Alec Baldwin. The way that David described Alec Baldwin, that behavior that was described in that video that he imagined occurred, manifested itself in the beginning of this video. The way that Alec Baldwin was talking with whoever it was he was talking to on the phone, it matches exactly the way that David or Viva Fry imagined his behavior to have been the moment that Elena Hutchins was killed. That behavior appears to have manifested itself in the beginning of this, or before this interview even begins. Very interesting. Very interesting. So yeah, Elena Hutchins is gone. She passed away. There's videos circulating of the incident that, I guess moments before she died. Now it's on the internet. This is what he did. And I think people should go look at it. People should be outraged that these Democrats keep committing these fucking crimes and getting away with it because they're friends with Obama, because they make fun of Orange Man all the time, because they're alleged dunking on Trump all the time. They never dunked on him, dude. Trump is the fucking king. There's only the illusion of you dunking on him, but us regular people, us regular working class folks, we don't give a shit. But yeah, he's my opinion, and I could be wrong. I pray that I'm wrong, but I feel, given that what we've seen in the past couple years, Alec Baldwin is likely to get away with this. He will not be punished at all in any meaningful way for murdering this young woman. And don't think like, oh, well, it's going to lay on his conscience. It's going to, weigh down his soul. He ain't got no fucking soul. It's like, oh, his heart's going to break every day thinking about Helena. He's got no fucking heart. He went on TV and he blamed the victim. That is who Alec Baldwin is. He's got this God complex. He can do no wrong. He's a Democrat. He's unbelievable. Just imagine if it wasn't. I'd be more outraged if it wasn't, instead of like a Helena Hutchins, it was just some random mother, some random little girl, and just a regular person. And he got away with it. And then again, that goes to show you, maybe, I don't know Elena Hutchins' background. Maybe she was privileged, and more than likely she was. But let's just say she was just a regular, college student. She busted her ass in university, went to film school, whatever, graduated, and now she's on a set with the legendary Alec Baldwin. And he felt that he was above her, that he was better than her, and then she fucking dies because of his fucking negligence. And he's going to get away with it. So, yeah. Elena Hutchins was married. I think she had a kid, fuck. Yeah, Alec Baldwin's a piece of shit. And all his fans, fuck you. All these Hollywood enjoyers, you guys are scum. If you got to watch a film with Alec Baldwin in it, just pirate it. I'll post links to where you can just live stream any movie that you want. Because, I like stealing from the rich and giving to the poor. Yeah, fuck Alec Baldwin. So what do you guys think? Is he going to get away with it? Do you think he's going to get charged? It's been too long. I think they've been wanting to prolong this as long as they can. If they do charge him, it'll probably be after the midterms. If they decide to charge him, I doubt that they will. But if we're lucky, it happens prior to the midterms. Again, this guy's politically connected. And this is a political situation. If you want law stuff, Andrew Branca, the law of self-defense guy, Nick Rekieta, he just was hanging out with Brandon Herrera. They did an excellent stream together. So, yeah, man, I think it's going to be enough for me. So, yeah, what do you guys think? Let's talk about it. Peace out.